The level of stupid that I just had to resist me to sit down, grovel on my knees, and be like, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Yamato."
Reports say that pirate software hurt his reputation, went away for a while, and then came back as if the internet would quickly forget about the problems that had come before. But the comeback seemed to make things worse instead of better for his reputation. He was known online as the calm Bob Ross of coding, a trustworthy developer who gave game development advice and talked about his skills, saying he had worked at Blizzard for several years and had decades of experience in the field. Millions of people watched his videos and streams because they thought they were learning from a pro. His friendly, informative, and laid-back content helped him build a large following. But as time went on, critics started to point out things that didn't fit the expert image, like mistakes in gameplay during a World of Warcraft raid and coding techniques that some viewers were unsure about. The problem got worse when he harshly criticized the stop ending games movement and shared information that many people said was false. Critics were especially angry about how he responded to criticism, which usually meant defending his position instead of admitting he was wrong. Reports say that by the end of 2025, his viewership had dropped sharply, which could mean that people no longer trusted him. Many people thought that his plan hadn't changed, but his return in January 2026 seemed like an effort to make a comeback. He didn't seem to care about the previous outcry and went back to doing the same things that had gotten him in trouble. In the new year, he quickly got into another fight with a small independent developer over a game demo. Pirate talked about the problem live after claiming that someone had used his voice without permission and sending a DMCA takedown notice. He said that using someone else's voice or likeness without permission could get you in trouble with the law. This comment caused even more online arguments.
And you put your mouse inside of MS Paint, and then you hold spacebar, and then you use the arrow keys, you can draw like an Etch-a-Sketch. And people didn't know this. MS Paint is king. MS Paint is my favorite program ever. And all you have to do after is you just take it and you shake it up.
But Pirate's angry response to the situation had a big flaw. He said that the audio he didn't like wasn't even in the game when it was first released to the public. Anyone who downloaded the demo could tell that the footage wasn't there. The developer says that the audio was only in a private development build that was used for testing inside the company. It was just a temporary placeholder joke that was never meant for players to hear. This is important for copyright claims because the DMCA method requires the person making the complaint to do a good faith review before sending a takedown request. The person making the claim needs to make sure that the content is real and see if fair use might be a good idea. Critics said that Pirate seemed to act quickly with the accusation without checking the facts carefully, and that it went after a smaller developer who didn't have as many resources to fight back. Things got worse when a lawyer saw the fight online and stepped in to help the independent developer for free. A lot of people think that this kind of involvement is very rare, and it showed how divided the issue had become. Even after the DMCA claim was dropped, the conversation continued. Some viewers were even more upset because Pirate refused to give a clear apology, said the accusation was true, and said that his opponents had misunderstood copyright law. People on the internet quickly changed their minds, and several former fans accused him of using his power to hurt lesser-known artists. His image had been built on supporting independent developers and making the community a welcoming place, so the criticism hurt a lot. Pirate Jam 18 took place in late January and early February, which made the debate even more controversial. Some people who said later that the event wasn't as well organized as other popular game jams.
Actual view any coding, the code is just visually there on the screen, and 98% of the actual stream is him looking at his subscribers, looking at his tip jar as to how much money people have sent him, and also looking at videos about games, but never actually doing any game development in a dev stream.
The problems with Pirate Jam 18 quickly led to more criticism, with many guests saying that the event was poorly run. The first problem happened when Pirate took away important community features from IT.io, like the comment sections and the public ranking system. This ruined the social aspect of game jams that makes them fun and helpful for smaller developers. Without these parts, developers had no reason to look at other entries or give feedback, and the event felt quiet and broken up. Many creators felt ignored after spending a lot of time on their work because judges only looked at each game for a few minutes during the judgment phase, according to complaints from participants. The argument got more heated during Pirate's live streams. where he showed off his favorite contributions. He often spent a lot of time playing games that had his pet ferrets in them or that seemed to be his own project, Heartbound. Other times, he would finish games in just a few minutes. Many people thought there was clear favoritism, which made developers who worked hard angry and ignored. All things considered, what should have been a helpful and cooperative community event instead showed bias and bad planning, which hurt the Jam's reputation.
We have to file a legal complaint against that dude earlier. So I filed a DMCA claim, and he has now filed a counterclaim against me. We're going to take you to court. You're going to lose. You cannot use somebody's likeness or voice in any way inside of your games without their permission.
Things got worse at Pirate Jam 18 when guests started giving smart criticism of the judgment and obvious bias. Reports say that Pirate's moderation team began deleting bad reviews and blocking developers from his areas just for speaking out about their worries about the process. A lot of people said that this meant that developers who followed the rules and gave honest feedback were suddenly left out of the group they were trying to connect with, which shocked and upset them. Instead of acting logically, Pirate kept doing something that many people had already seen him do, digging in and refusing to admit that there were problems. Backlash spread quickly, with developers saying that the jam was rushed, disorganized, and disrespectful of the work they had done. They said the judgment was more of a show than a real evaluation. As more and more people shared similar stories, these comments spread quickly on social media and forums. They showed bias and self-promotion instead of supporting independent artists. As the jam controversy grew, Pirate got into another big fight over the MMO project Ashes of Creation's failure on February 1st, 2026. People who backed the Kickstarter-funded game, which had been in the works for almost 10 years, are said to have lost patience when the company shut down, fired employees without pay, and the CEO quit after spending time and money on the long project.
As much as you're angry right now, of course I ran.
As the criticism grew, Pirate Software took a completely different approach. They said that the game had been doing well until recently and put up a website to show that the Ashes of Creation scenario had been misunderstood. A lot of people thought his comments had nothing to do with what former players and staff said, even though he said he knew a lot about the project and the company. Some people said he was downplaying serious problems, especially since unhappy fans and unpaid workers were already speaking out about how unhappy they were. The backlash grew stronger as Pirate kept defending the studio, which many thought was tone-deaf given the reports of unpaid salaries and the effects of the collapse on both employees and gamers. Some people said he was getting involved in something that didn't directly affect him, which was different from his earlier accusations against AAA studios for not being open and communicating. Some people thought that Pirate might have had financial reasons for doing what he did because he had already promoted the idea and supposedly used referral links that would give him rewards when new players joined. Many people thought it was wrong to promote a game that had made real money from players while workers were supposedly being laid off, no matter what the truth was. When Pirate made private messages between him and the studio's community manager, Margaret Cohn, public, the debate took a different turn. Cohn has said before that the moderation team was small and dealing with a lot of harassment claims, and that not all claims lead to a quick, permanent ban, which is common in many online forums.
Make a bad poll, you make a bad call, that's on you.
That is the most arrogant statement on the planet, bro.
When Pirate made the conversation with Margaret Cohn public, he said she had lied and blamed her for not handling his reports correctly. A lot of people who had read the messages, though, said that his portrayal didn't accurately reflect the situation. Many people thought that Pirate had made the timing and context seem worse than they were, because Margaret was talking about how she dealt with name-calling and the usual way of moderating, but Pirate made it sound like she was ignoring much bigger problems, like problems with LGBTQ players. Since Margaret had recently lost her job because the studio went out of business, it seemed cruel and too harsh to show private texts at that time, which made people more upset about what happened. A lot of people were surprised by the timing. They said that Pirate's answer seemed selfish and spiteful, putting himself in the middle of the conflict instead of showing empathy. This was because former employees were having a hard time finding new jobs. Longtime fans noticed the same things happening over and over again, even though he was out of the public eye for months. This might have given him time to think or made his return less dramatic. He never admitted to making mistakes, he didn't like criticism, and he always wanted to prove he was right. Because of this, some people in the community called the event a glorified LOL, showing their anger at someone who always makes drama without thinking about how it will affect others. Reports say that he has lost hundreds of thousands of followers on all platforms. His YouTube views, which used to be in the millions, are now around 5,000, and his Twitch streams, which used to have 10,000 viewers on average, are now closer to 3,000. His responses often made arguments worse instead of better. Many people think that this is not a story of his recovery, but rather a continuation of his public decline if Pirate doesn't accept these recurring patterns and change how he reacts to criticism. Now it's up to the public to decide if Pirate Software can really get back on his feet and fix his reputation, or if his time as a well-known voice in the gaming community is over. People who watch the video are asked to share it with others. Subscribe to the Beyond Fame channel, like it, and leave comments.